Marcus Johnson drove his old beat-up car into the parking lot of Elite Motors. The fancy car dealership shined bright in the morning sun. Rows of clean, new cars sat on the lot. Marcus looked at the big building with its glass walls. He took a deep breath and fixed his janitor uniform. "Today is the day," he whispered to himself. After 20 long years of hard work and saving every penny, Marcus had finally bought Elite Motors, but no one at the dealership knew this yet. 15 years ago, this same dealership had turned Marcus down for a sales job. The manager back then had told him they didn't think he would fit in with their customers. Marcus knew what that really meant. It was because he was black. That day, he had made a promise to himself that one day he would own a place like this and run it the right way. Now, at age 45, Marcus had done what seemed impossible. Through smart investments and a small business he ran on the side, he had saved enough money to buy Elite Motors when the old owner decided to retire. But Marcus had a special plan. He didn't want to walk in on the first day as the boss. He wanted to see how things really worked when the owner wasn't around. "Let me work as a janitor for 2 weeks," Marcus had told the old owner. "Don't tell anyone who I really am. I want to see who treats people right and who doesn't." The old owner had laughed but agreed. "You're going to see some things you won't like, Marcus. That's why I'm getting out of this business." Marcus grabbed his cleaning supplies from the trunk and walked toward the side entrance. As he got closer, he saw Richard Blake, the general manager, yelling at a young man at the front desk. "How many times do I have to tell you? When rich people walk in, you stand up. You don't sit there like you're watching TV at home." Richard's face was red with anger. The young man looked down. "Sorry, Mr. Blake. It won't happen again." Marcus watched as Richard straightened his expensive tie and walked away. This was exactly why Marcus wanted to come in disguise. He needed to see who Richard Blake really was when he thought no one important was watching. "You must be the new cleaning guy," a friendly voice said. Marcus turned to see a woman with a name tag that read Sarah. "Yes, I'm Marcus. Today's my first day." "I'm Sarah. Don't mind Richard. He treats everyone like that. Especially." She stopped herself. "Well, just do your job and try to stay out of his way." Marcus nodded. "Thanks for the advice." The morning went by quickly as Marcus cleaned the bathrooms and mopped the floors. He kept his eyes and ears open. He noticed how Richard and most of the sales team treated customers differently based on how they dressed or what color their skin was. Rich-looking white customers got the best service. Everyone else got rushed through or shown the most expensive cars they clearly couldn't afford. At lunchtime, Marcus sat alone in the break room, eating his sandwich. The sales team came in, laughing loudly with Richard in the center of the group. "Did you see that couple this morning? Asking about financing on a luxury model." Richard laughed. "I told them the bank would need to see their credit score first. They ran out so fast." Everyone laughed except Sarah and a mechanic named Miguel, who sat quietly in the corner. Richard suddenly noticed Marcus. "Hey, you, janitor. When you're done eating, the men's room needs cleaning again. Someone made a mess in there." "Yes, sir," Marcus said quietly, looking down. Richard walked over and stood right in front of Marcus. "What's your name again?" "Marcus Johnson, sir." Richard smirked. "Well, Marcus Johnson, let me give you some advice. Clean really well, because that's all you'll ever be good for in a place like this." The room went silent. Marcus felt his hands tighten into fists under the table, but he kept his face calm. "I'll do my best, sir." As Richard walked away laughing, Marcus made his first mental note. Richard Blake would be the first to go when these 2 weeks were over. The next morning, Marcus arrived early at Elite Motors. He wanted to see how the day started before all the customers came in. He found Richard holding a meeting with the sales team in the main showroom. "Listen up, everyone," Richard said loudly. "We have 15 cars we need to sell by the end of the month to hit our target. The ones on the back lot with the yellow tags need to go first. They've been sitting too long." Marcus pretended to dust nearby as he listened. "Those yellow-tagged cars have problems, don't they?" asked Sarah. Richard rolled his eyes. "Just small issues. Nothing serious. Don't mention them unless the customer specifically asks. Remember, we're here to sell cars, not to be their best friend." Marcus wrote this down in the small notebook he kept in his pocket. Selling cars with problems without telling the customers was wrong and against the law. As Marcus cleaned the windows, a well-dressed black couple walked into the dealership. They looked around at the shiny cars. "Good morning," the man said to Richard. "We're looking for a safe family car. We have a baby on the way." Richard's friendly smile didn't reach his eyes. "Congratulations. Let me show you what we have." He led them to the most expensive cars in the showroom, not the reliable family cars they were asking for. Later, when the couple left without buying anything, Richard complained to another salesperson. "They were just wasting my time. I could tell they couldn't afford anything good." At lunch, Marcus sat with Miguel, the mechanic who hadn't laughed at Richard's jokes the day before. "You're new," Miguel said. "How do you like working here so far?" "It's interesting," Marcus replied carefully. "How long have you worked here?" 5 years, Miguel sighed. "I'm the best mechanic they have, but Richard won't promote me to head mechanic. He gave the job to his friend last year, even though the guy barely knows how to change oil." "That doesn't seem fair," Marcus said. Miguel shrugged. "That's how things work here. If Richard likes you, you move up. If not, you stay at the bottom no matter how hard you work." After lunch, Richard came to where Marcus was cleaning and dropped a coffee cup on the freshly mopped floor. Coffee splashed everywhere. "Oops," Richard said with a smirk. "Clean that up, will you?" Marcus bit his tongue and got his mop again. As he cleaned, he heard Richard talking to a customer on the phone. "Yes, sir, that car is still available," Richard said smoothly. "No, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Perfect condition." Marcus recognized the car Richard was talking about. It was one with a yellow tag. Earlier, he had overheard Miguel telling another mechanic that this exact car had transmission problems. After Richard hung up, Marcus decided to take a risk. He approached Richard. "Excuse me, sir," Marcus said politely. "I couldn't help overhearing about that car. I think there might be a problem with." Richard cut him off. "Did I ask for your opinion? You're the janitor. Your job is to clean, not to think about cars. Get back to work before I find someone who knows their place." Several salespeople nearby laughed. Sarah looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. That afternoon, an older woman came in. She walked slowly with a cane. "I need a car for my grandson," she explained to Sarah. "He just got his first job. Nothing fancy, just something safe and reliable." Before Sarah could help her, Richard stepped in. "I have the perfect car for your grandson," he said with a big smile. He led her straight to one of the yellow-tagged cars. From across the room, Marcus could see Miguel shaking his head. That car was definitely not safe or reliable. Marcus quietly moved closer to listen. "This is one of our best cars," Richard was saying. "Very reliable. Your grandson will love it." "It seems expensive," the woman said, looking worried. "The ad I saw online showed cars for much less." "Those cheaper ones are all sold out," Richard lied. "This is the best deal you'll find anywhere, I promise." Marcus knew this wasn't true. There were several cheaper, better cars on the lot. As he watched Richard try to trick the old woman, Marcus made another note in his book. The list of problems at Elite Motors was growing longer by the hour, and Marcus was becoming more certain that big changes would be needed when his 2 weeks were up. By the end of his first week as a janitor, Marcus had seen enough to make him angry. But he stayed calm and kept watching. He needed to know everything about how Elite Motors worked before he made changes. On Monday morning of his second week, Marcus was cleaning the front windows when he saw a young black man in a neat suit walk into the dealership. The man looked nervous but excited. "Good morning," the young man said to the receptionist. "I have a job interview with Mr. Blake at 10 o'clock. My name is Jamal Wilson." Before the receptionist could answer, Richard walked by and looked Jamal up and down. "You're here for the sales position?" Richard asked with a frown. "Yes, sir," Jamal said with a smile. "I have 3 years of sales experience." Richard cut him off. "The position has been filled already. Sorry you came all this way for nothing." Jamal's face fell. "But I confirmed the interview yesterday," the receptionist said. "Look, things change," Richard said sharply. "We found someone better. That's business." After Jamal left, Marcus heard Richard tell the receptionist, "Don't schedule any more interviews for people like that. Our customers won't feel comfortable buying from them." Marcus wrote this down in his notebook. He was beginning to understand why he hadn't gotten a job here 15 years ago. An hour later, a young white man walked in without an appointment. He was wearing jeans and a wrinkled shirt. "Hey, I heard you might be hiring salespeople," he said to Richard. Richard smiled. "We might be. Do you have any experience?" "Not really," the man admitted. "I worked at my dad's hardware store for a bit. Why don't you fill out an application?" Richard said, "We can talk after." Marcus shook his head as he mopped the floor nearby. The unfairness was right out in the open. At lunchtime, Marcus sat with Sarah again. He was starting to trust her. "Why do you stay here?" he asked her quietly. "You don't seem to like how things are done." Sarah sighed. "I need this job. My mom is sick, and her medicine is expensive. The pay is good, even though—" She looked around to make sure no one was listening. "Even though I hate how Richard treats people, but I can't risk losing this job right now." Marcus nodded. He understood. Sometimes people had to put up with bad situations because they needed the money. That afternoon, a wealthy-looking white couple came in. The man wore an expensive suit, and the woman had fancy jewelry. Richard rushed over to help them himself. "What can I show you today?" Richard asked with his biggest smile. "We need something for our daughter. She's starting college next month," the man explained. Richard showed them the safest, most reliable cars, not the yellow tagged ones with problems. He offered them coffee and spent over an hour with them. Meanwhile, Miguel was under a car in the service area. Marcus went to clean up there and heard Miguel talking to another mechanic. "I can't fix this properly without the right part," Miguel said. "But Richard wants me to just make it work somehow and get it on the sales floor by tomorrow." "That's dangerous," the other mechanic replied. "I know," Miguel agreed. "But last time I refused to cut corners, Richard threatened to fire me." Marcus wrote this down too. Selling unsafe cars could hurt people. This was even worse than he thought. Later, as Marcus emptied trash cans in the offices, he found something interesting in Richard's trash. It was a report showing the real conditions of all the cars on the lot. Many cars marked as excellent on the sales floor were actually in poor condition according to the report. Marcus took the report and put it in his pocket. This was important proof. At the end of the day, as Marcus was getting ready to leave, Richard stopped him. "The men's room is disgusting," Richard said. "Clean it before you go." "My shift is over," Marcus said calmly. "I've been here since 7 a.m. Richard stepped closer. "I don't care. Clean it now, or don't bother coming back tomorrow." Marcus looked Richard in the eye. For a moment, he was tempted to reveal who he really was, but he decided to wait. Just 3 more days until his plan would be complete. "Fine," Marcus said. "I'll clean it." As Richard walked away laughing, Marcus thought to himself, "Enjoy your power while you can. Things are about to change around here." On Tuesday morning, Marcus arrived at work to find everyone talking excitedly. A big customer was coming in today. Richard had called a special meeting in the showroom. "Listen up, everyone," Richard said. "Mr. Peterson from Peterson Construction is coming in today. He wants to buy 10 trucks for his company. This could be our biggest sale of the year." The sales team looked happy. 10 trucks meant big money. I will handle this personally, Richard continued. No one else talks to Mr. Peterson. Understood. And make sure this place is spotless. He looked directly at Marcus. That means you need to work extra hard today, janitor. Marcus nodded. Yes, sir. As everyone went back to work, Sarah walked over to Marcus. Mr. Peterson is one of the richest businessmen in town, she said quietly. But Richard doesn't know that Mr. Peterson likes to test people. What do you mean? Marcus asked. Last year, Mr. Peterson went to River City Motors. He dressed in old clothes to see how they treat him. When they were rude, he went somewhere else to buy 20 trucks. This was interesting news to Marcus. He wondered if Mr. Peterson might do the same thing here. Around noon, a man in dirty work clothes walked into the dealership. He had mud on his boots and wore an old jacket. Marcus noticed him right away and watched what would happen. The man walked up to Richard. I'm looking for some trucks for my business. Richard barely looked at him. The cheap trucks are in the back lot. Basic models only, nothing fancy. Actually, I need about 10 trucks, the man said calmly. Richard laughed. Right, 10 trucks. Look, buddy, why don't you come back when you're serious? And maybe wear clean clothes next time. The man didn't get angry. He just nodded and left quietly. An hour later, the same man returned. But now he wore an expensive suit and shiny shoes. He stepped out of a luxury car. Richard rushed to the door. Welcome to Elite Motors. How can I help you today? I'm James Peterson, the man said. I called about buying 10 trucks for Peterson Construction. Richard's face went white. Mr. Peterson, but you were just here. Yes, I was, Mr. Peterson said coldly. And I learned everything I needed to know about how you treat people. Mr. Peterson turned to leave. Richard panicked. Please, Mr. Peterson, there's been a misunderstanding. Let me show you our best trucks. I can give you a special discount. No, thank you, Mr. Peterson said. I don't do business with people who judge others by how they look or what they wear. After Mr. Peterson left, Richard was furious. He slammed doors and yelled at everyone. When he saw Marcus cleaning nearby, he lost his temper completely. This is your fault, he shouted at Marcus. The place wasn't clean enough. That's why he left. Marcus knew this wasn't true, but he said nothing. You're fired, Richard yelled. Get out now. The whole showroom went silent. Everyone stared. Marcus put down his mop. This wasn't part of his plan, but maybe it was time to move things forward. You can't fire me, Marcus said calmly. Richard's face turned red. What did you say to me? I'm the manager here. Actually, Marcus said, you can't fire me because I don't work for you. I never did. Richard looked confused. What are you talking about? You're the janitor. Just then, the front door opened. 2 people walked in. The old owner of Elite Motors and a woman in a business suit carrying a folder. Right on time, Marcus said with a smile. The old owner looked around at everyone watching. Is there a problem here? Richard tried to calm down. No, sir, no problem. Just firing this lazy janitor. The old owner laughed. You can't fire him. Why not? Richard demanded. Because, the old owner said, he's your new boss. A shocked silence filled the room. Richard's mouth fell open. What? Richard finally managed to say. Marcus stepped forward. My name is Marcus Johnson. I bought Elite Motors last month. I've been working as a janitor to see how this business really runs when the owner isn't watching. He looked straight at Richard. And I've seen plenty. Richard's face went from red to pale. You can't be serious. The woman in the business suit handed Marcus the folder. All the final papers are ready for your signature, Mr. Johnson. Marcus took the folder. Thank you, Miss Taylor. The old owner shook Marcus's hand. The place is all yours now, officially. Good luck. Marcus turned to face all the employees who were watching in amazement. Everyone, please go back to work. We'll have a proper meeting tomorrow morning. There are going to be some changes around here." Then he looked at Richard, who stood frozen in shock. "Mr. Blake, please come to my office. We need to talk." Marcus sat behind a large desk in what was now his office. Richard stood on the other side, still looking shocked. His usual confidence was gone. "Please sit down, Mr. Blake," Marcus said, pointing to a chair. Richard sat slowly. "I can explain everything," he began. "Those things you saw, they weren't." Marcus held up his hand to stop him. "For the past 2 weeks, I've watched how you run this dealership. I've seen how you treat customers differently based on what they look like or how much money you think they have." Richard started to speak, but Marcus continued. "I've seen you sell cars with problems without telling people. I've seen you tell Miguel to fix cars without the right parts. I've seen you lie about prices. And I've seen how you treat people who work here." Marcus opened a drawer and took out his small notebook. "I wrote down everything. Times, dates, what was said. I also have the report you threw away that shows the real condition of the cars on the lot." Richard's face had turned pale. "Look, we can work this out. The car business is tough. Sometimes you have to." "No," Marcus said firmly. "You don't have to lie. You don't have to cheat people. And you definitely don't have to treat people like they're nothing just because they clean floors or fix cars." Marcus stood up and walked to the window. He looked out at the dealership he now owned. This had been his dream for so long. 15 years ago, I came here looking for a job as a salesperson," Marcus said. "I had experience. I had good references. But the manager back then, your mentor, I believe, told me I wouldn't fit in here." Richard looked at the floor. "That wasn't me. That was before my time. But you keep doing the same things," Marcus said. "Last week, you turned away Jamal Wilson without even interviewing him. He had 3 years of sales experience. But 10 minutes later, you were happy to talk to someone with no experience just because he was white." Richard had no answer for this. "When I left here 15 years ago without that job, I promised myself that one day I would own this place," Marcus continued. "I worked 2 jobs. I saved every penny. I started a small business on the side. I learned about cars. And I never forgot what it felt like to be judged because of the color of my skin." Marcus sat back down and looked directly at Richard. "Now I have a decision to make about you." Richard straightened his tie, trying to look confident again. "You need me. I know all our customers. I've been running this place for 5 years. Sales have never been higher." Marcus smiled slightly. "Actually, I looked at the real numbers. Sales have gone down each year for the past 3 years. Customer complaints have gone up. And 3 former employees have threatened to sue because of how they were treated here." Richard's confident look disappeared again. "So here's what's going to happen," Marcus said. "Today is your last day as manager of Elite Motors." "You're firing me?" Richard asked in disbelief. "I'm giving you a choice," Marcus replied. "Choice 1. You leave today with 2 weeks' pay, and we never see each other again." "What's choice 2?" Richard asked. "You start over as a janitor," Marcus said. "Same pay the cleaning company was giving me. Same hours, same work, for at least 3 months." Richard laughed. "You can't be serious. Me, a janitor? No way." "It might teach you something about how to treat people," Marcus said. "After 3 months, if you've learned your lesson, I might consider giving you a sales position, a junior position, starting at the bottom." Richard stood up angrily. "This is ridiculous. I'm not cleaning toilets. I'll find another management job by next week." Marcus shook his head. "With the things I've documented, the illegal practices, the discrimination, I don't think so." Richard's angry look changed to worry. He slowly sat back down. "Take some time to think about it," Marcus said. "You have until the end of the day to decide. Leave for good or start over at the bottom." As Richard left the office, still looking stunned, Marcus called Sarah on the phone. "Sarah, could you come to my office, please, and ask Miguel to join us in 15 minutes?" Marcus smiled as he looked around his new office. His plan had worked even better than he'd hoped. Now it was time to start making Elite Motors the kind of business he had always dreamed of owning. One where everyone was treated with respect, no matter who they were. Sarah knocked on the office door and peeked in. "You wanted to see me, Mr. Johnson." She still looked surprised by everything that had happened. "Please call me Marcus," he said with a smile. "Come in and sit down." Sarah sat down nervously. "Am I in trouble? I know I should have said something about how Richard was treating people, but I needed this job because of my mom's medical bills. And you're not in trouble," Marcus assured her. "I've been watching everyone for 2 weeks. You were one of the few people here who treated all customers with respect." Sarah looked relieved. "Thank you." There was another knock, and Miguel entered. "You asked to see me?" "Yes, Miguel. Please join us," Marcus said. "I've been learning a lot about how things work here, or rather, how they don't work." Miguel nodded. "It's been bad for a long time. Richard cares only about making money, not about doing what's right." "That's going to change," Marcus said firmly. "Starting today, Elite Motors will be run differently, and I need help from people I can trust." Sarah and Miguel exchanged looks. "Sarah," Marcus continued, "I'd like you to be our new sales manager." Sarah's eyes widened. "Me? But I've only been in sales for 2 years." "You're honest with customers. You treat everyone the same, no matter what they look like or how much money they have. That's what matters most to me." Sarah smiled widely. "Thank you. I won't let you down." "And Miguel," Marcus turned to the mechanic, "I want you to be our new service manager. No more cutting corners. No more hiding problems from customers." Miguel sat up straighter. "Really? Richard always said I wasn't management material." "Richard was wrong about a lot of things," Marcus replied. "I need someone who knows cars and cares about customer safety. That's you." Miguel looked proud. "When do we start?" "Right now," Marcus said. "We have a lot of work to do." For the next hour, the 3 of them made plans. They would check every car on the lot and fix any problems before selling them. They would offer fair prices to everyone. They would hire good people, no matter what they looked like. Just as they were finishing, there was a knock at the door. It was Richard. He looked different now, less proud, more worried. "I've made my decision," Richard said quietly. The room went silent. Sarah and Miguel watched with surprise. "And?" Marcus asked. Richard took a deep breath. "I'll take the janitor job." No one had expected this. Richard Blake, who always acted so important, was willing to clean floors. "Why?" Marcus asked. "I thought you'd choose to leave." Richard looked down. "I called 3 other dealerships about management jobs. As soon as I said where I worked, they said they'd heard rumors about how things are done here. No one would talk to me." He sighed. "Plus, my wife is pregnant. I need a job, any job." Marcus studied Richard's face. Was he really sorry or just desperate? "The job is yours," Marcus finally said. "You start tomorrow, 7:00 a.m. sharp. Miguel will be your supervisor." Miguel's eyes widened in surprise. "One more thing," Marcus added. "Part of your job will be to call every customer who bought a car with problems. You'll tell them to bring their cars in for free repairs." Richard nodded slowly. "I understand." After Richard left, Sarah turned to Marcus. "Do you really think he can change?" Marcus shrugged. "I don't know, but everyone deserves a second chance. That's the kind of business I want to run." That evening, Marcus walked alone through the quiet showroom. The cars gleamed under the lights. His cars, his dealership. He remembered how it felt 15 years ago, being told he didn't belong here. Now he owned the place, but this wasn't just about getting back at people who had hurt him. It was about creating something better. Marcus stopped at the front window and looked out at the sign. Elite Motors. Tomorrow he would order a new sign. This place wouldn't be Elite anymore. It would be a dealership for everyone. As he turned off the lights and prepared to leave, Marcus felt proud. His 2 weeks as a janitor had been hard. He had swallowed his pride many times, but it had been worth it. Now he knew exactly how to make things right. The next morning, Marcus arrived early at the dealership. He wanted to be there when Richard started his first day as a janitor. At exactly 7:00 a.m., Richard walked in. He wore simple clothes instead of his usual fancy suit. He looked uncomfortable. "Good morning," Marcus said. "Miguel will show you what to do today." Miguel was waiting with cleaning supplies. "Let's start with the bathrooms," he told Richard. Richard's face turned red, but he nodded and followed Miguel without complaint. Marcus watched them go, then turned his attention to the big meeting he had planned. At 9:00 a.m., all employees gathered in the showroom. Everyone looked nervous. They didn't know what changes were coming. "Good morning, everyone," Marcus began. "As you now know, I'm Marcus Johnson, the new owner of this dealership. For the past 2 weeks, I've been working here as a janitor to see how things really work." People shifted uncomfortably, wondering what he had seen them do or say. "I saw a lot of problems," Marcus continued. "Cars with issues being sold without telling customers. Different prices for different people. Rude treatment of anyone who didn't look rich." The room was very quiet now. "All of that stops today," Marcus said firmly. "From now on, we will be honest with every customer. We will treat everyone with respect, no matter what they look like or how much money they have." Some people looked relieved. Others looked worried. "Some changes start immediately," Marcus announced. "Sarah is our new sales manager. Miguel is our new service manager. And we have a new name." Marcus unveiled a large poster showing a new logo, Johnson Motors. "Fair deals for everyone. We'll have the new sign up by next week," he explained. "But the changes in how we work start right now." Marcus then explained the new rules. Every car would be properly checked and fixed before being sold. Prices would be clear and fair for everyone. There would be no more lying about what cars were available. "If you can't work this way, you should leave now," Marcus said. "But if you stay, I promise this will be a better place to work. You can be proud of what you do here." No one left. Many people nodded, seeming happy about the changes. After the meeting, Marcus visited each part of the dealership. He talked with mechanics about fixing the cars properly. He spoke with salespeople about honest selling. He checked the office records to understand the business better. Around noon, he walked through the showroom and saw Richard cleaning the windows. Richard's face was sweaty, and his hands looked sore. Cleaning was harder work than he had thought. Richard saw Marcus watching and straightened up. "The windows are nearly done," he said stiffly. "Good job," Marcus replied. "When you finish, take a lunch break." As Marcus turned to leave, Richard called after him. "Mr. Johnson, can I ask you something?" Marcus stopped. "Yes." "How long did you work as a janitor before buying this place?" Marcus smiled. "I wasn't always a janitor. After I didn't get the sales job here 15 years ago, I started my own small car repair shop. It grew into 3 shops. Then I started buying and selling used cars on the side. I worked very hard." Richard looked surprised. "But you know how to clean so well. The other day when I made that coffee spill." "My father was a janitor," Marcus explained. "He worked at the same school for 30 years. He taught me that all honest work deserves respect." Richard looked down at his hands, red from cleaning. For the first time, he seemed to be really thinking about things. That afternoon, a familiar face walked into the dealership. It was Mr. Peterson from Peterson Construction. "Mr. Peterson," Marcus greeted him. "What brings you back?" "News travels fast," Mr. Peterson said. "I heard there's a new owner here who used to be a janitor. That's the kind of person I want to do business with. What can we help you with?" Marcus asked. "I still need those 10 trucks for my business. Mr. Peterson replied. But now I'm thinking maybe 15 trucks. My company is growing. Marcus smiled. Sarah will help you find exactly what you need, and I personally guarantee every truck will be in perfect condition. As Sarah showed Mr. Peterson the trucks, Marcus looked around his dealership. Already it felt different. People were smiling. The air felt lighter somehow. Change was happening, and it felt good. 1 month had passed since Marcus revealed himself as the new owner of the dealership. Johnson Motors was becoming known in town as a place where people could buy good cars at fair prices. Marcus sat in his office reviewing the sales numbers. They had sold more cars this month than in any month under Richard's management. People trusted the dealership now. Word was spreading. There was a knock at the door. It was Sarah. "The Thompson family is here to pick up their car," she said. "They want to thank you personally." Marcus smiled. The Thompsons were a black family who had been treated badly at the dealership before. They had come back after hearing about the new owner. "I'll be right out," Marcus said. In the showroom, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson were waiting with their teenage son. "Mr. Johnson," Mr. Thompson said, shaking Marcus's hand, "we can't thank you enough. This is the first time we've ever bought a car without feeling cheated." "That's how it should be for everyone," Marcus replied. "And thank your janitor, too," Mrs. Thompson added. "He was so helpful when our son spilled his soda earlier." Marcus looked across the showroom. Richard was cleaning up the spill, talking politely with the Thompson's son as he worked. "I'll be sure to tell him," Marcus said. After the Thompsons left with their new car, Marcus walked over to Richard. "The Thompsons appreciated your help," Marcus said. Richard nodded. "Nice family. Their son is starting college next year. Smart kid." Marcus noticed something different about Richard. He wasn't angry or bitter anymore. He was just doing his job. "It's been a month," Marcus said. "How are you finding the work?" Richard wiped his forehead. "Hard. Much harder than I thought. My back hurts every night." He paused. "But it's taught me some things." "Like what?" Marcus asked. "Like how invisible you feel when people walk by without seeing you, or how it feels when someone makes a mess right after you clean something." Richard looked down at his hands. "I never thought about those things before." Marcus nodded. Richard was starting to understand. Later that day, Marcus overheard Richard talking to a young man who had come in looking for work. "All the sales positions are filled right now," Richard explained. "But we might need someone to help with cleaning and maintenance." The young man looked disappointed. "I was hoping for a sales job." Richard surprised Marcus by saying, "I started in cleaning here. It's honest work, and you can learn a lot about the business from the ground up." The young man thought about it. "Okay, I'll take it. When can I start?" "Talk to Miguel in service. He handles the maintenance staff," Richard said. After the young man left, Marcus approached Richard. "That was good advice you gave him." Richard shrugged. "Just telling the truth. I've learned more in this past month than in 5 years as manager." The next morning, Marcus called Richard into his office. Richard came in, still wearing his cleaning uniform. "Sit down," Marcus said. Richard sat, looking nervous. "Did I do something wrong?" "No," Marcus assured him. "Actually, the opposite. I've been watching you this past month. You've changed." Richard nodded slowly. "This job, it's been humbling. For the first time, I see how I treated people before. I'm not proud of it. That's why I wanted to talk to you," Marcus said. "Your 3-month probation as a janitor isn't over yet, but I'm satisfied you've learned the lesson." Richard looked up in surprise. "We have an opening in sales," Marcus continued. "Junior position, as I promised. You'd start at the bottom, same as everyone else. Are you interested?" Richard smiled slightly. "Actually, can I think about it?" This wasn't the response Marcus expected. "Of course. Take your time." The next day, Richard came to Marcus's office again. "I've made my decision," Richard said. "I appreciate the sales offer, but I'd like to stay in maintenance for now." Marcus was surprised. "Really?" Why? I'm not ready for sales yet, Richard explained. I'm still learning how to see people differently. And honestly, there's something satisfying about making this place shine. I never understood that before. Marcus smiled. This was not what he had expected a month ago, but it showed how much Richard had truly changed. The job is yours for as long as you want it, Marcus said, extending his hand. Richard shook it firmly. Thank you for the second chance. Not many people would have done that. As Richard left to get back to work, Marcus thought about how much had changed in just 1 month. People who had been mistreated were now valued. A dealership that had cheated customers now served them honestly, and a man who had looked down on others was learning to see the world differently. Sometimes, Marcus realized, the biggest changes start with the smallest jobs. 1 year had passed since Marcus Johnson had walked into Elite Motors as a janitor. The new sign outside now proudly displayed Johnson Motors, and the dealership had become the most successful in town. On this special day, Marcus had invited everyone to a celebration. The showroom was decorated with balloons and a large banner that read 1-year anniversary. All the employees and their families were there. Even some loyal customers had been invited. Marcus stood in the center of the room, looking at all the happy faces around him. So much had changed in just 1 year. Thank you all for coming today, Marcus began. 1 year ago, I walked in here as a janitor, watching and learning. What I saw then made me sad, but what I see now makes me proud. Everyone applauded. Our sales are up 60% from last year, Marcus continued. But more importantly, we haven't had a single customer complaint in 6 months. People trust us now. Sarah stepped forward. As sales manager, she had built a team that treated all customers with respect. We're now the top-rated dealership in the state, she announced. And 3 other dealerships have asked us to teach them our approach. Miguel spoke next. In the service department, we fixed over 100 cars that were sold with problems by the old management. Every repair was free, just as Marcus promised. Marcus smiled. And none of this would have been possible without everyone in this room. You all embraced the changes and helped build something special here. He then turned to face Richard, who stood quietly at the back of the room. I'd like to ask Richard Blake to come forward, please. People murmured in surprise. Richard walked slowly to the front, no longer in his cleaning uniform. Today he wore a simple shirt and tie. Richard started as our general manager, Marcus explained. Then he became our janitor. Today, he's our customer service trainer. 3 months earlier, Richard had come to Marcus with an idea. He wanted to train new employees about treating all customers with respect. Who better to teach this than someone who had learned it the hard way? Richard, would you like to say a few words? Marcus asked. Richard looked nervous but stepped forward. A year ago, I was a different person. I judged people by how they looked or how much money they had. I treated some people badly. He paused. Working as a janitor taught me that every job matters. Every person matters. The room was quiet as everyone listened. I want to thank Marcus for giving me a second chance, Richard continued. Many people would have just fired me. Instead, he taught me a lesson I needed to learn. Richard turned to face Marcus. Thank you for seeing something in me that I didn't see in myself. After the speeches, as people enjoyed food and drinks, Jamal Wilson approached Marcus. Jamal was now one of their top salespeople. Marcus had hired him the day after taking over. Mr. Johnson, Jamal said, I never told you this, but the day Richard turned me away from that interview, I was ready to give up on finding a good job. You changed my life when you hired me. You earned it, Marcus replied. And please, call me Marcus. Later, as the party was ending, Marcus walked around the empty showroom. He remembered his first day here as a janitor, how angry he had felt seeing the unfairness. That anger was gone now, replaced by pride in what they had built together. The front door opened, and a man in a business suit walked in. I'm sorry, we're closed for a private event today, Marcus said. The man smiled. Actually, I'm here to see you, Mr. Johnson. My name is William Carter. I own Carter Motors across town. Marcus recognized the name. Carter Motors was their biggest competitor. What can I do for you, Mr. Carter? Marcus asked. I've been watching what you've done here, Mr. Carter said. Everyone's talking about how you treat your customers and employees. I want to learn from you. Marcus smiled. What exactly do you want to know? Everything, Mr. Carter replied. I want to change how we do business too. Your way is better. As they talked, Marcus realized his story had come full circle. The lesson he had learned from his father years ago, that all honest work and all people deserve respect, was now spreading beyond Johnson Motors. Sometimes, Marcus thought, the most powerful changes start small. One person treating another with dignity. One business doing the right thing. One second chance that leads to more second chances. From janitor to owner, Marcus had changed more than just a car dealership. He had started changing how people saw each other. And that was worth more than all the cars in the showroom.